Hello, everybody. Today is Monday, July the 3rd. This is an update on days of our lives. And I just had to make a video today because of what was going on today. Okay, so when we left off Friday, we seen Harris was standing in the bistro with the gun. Looked like it was pointed toward Meagan, so I was hoping that the brainwashing didn't work and that he was still a nice guy. Okay, so also Friday we seen where Leo just came in and found Kristin and EJ, and he's like, "OMG, guys, WTF?" You know, he's all about those crazy those crazy initials. Anyway, they talked for a long time. He's trying to figure out. He's like, he did get there in time enough that they did remember that Meagan had locked them in the basement, and they couldn't remember why. They started to lose their memory. Leo was just concerned that his Gwenny was in danger. So finally, he did cut them loose. Meanwhile, upstairs, Eric is comforting Nicole, and she's going on and bitching about how EJ's not there, and they end up sharing a kiss. So he's getting her some tea, made her a sandwich. They're sitting there when EJ and Kristin come stumbling out of the cellar. They've really been quite comical since they've been kidnapped or whatever. So I do like that they're bonding some. I like for EJ and Kristin to get along well. Okay, so Harris announces that, Meagan starts carrying on. Well, the whole little scene at the end of Friday just replayed Monday. So he makes it clear to everyone. He said, because Dimitri was going to get in on it because Megan's acting, "Oh my God, Harris, what are you doing here?" Okay, she could tell she was faking it. Anyway, he said, "Oh, relax. I'm not here to shoot either one of you. My target. I'm here to kill Stefan." And everybody's like, now, if you watch this and you notice in the background the whole time this is going on, there's like 4 people in the background that nobody knows, and they have nothing to do with nothing. And they are making some pretty fake faces back there. It's 2 men and 2 women, and they're just, you can tell they're supposed to, if they weren't invited to the private party, they shouldn't have been there. None of them had aprons on or name tags or anything that made me think maybe they worked at the bistro. Maybe that's what they were supposed to be, was the bistro employees. But, the one guy was dressed up in a suit and stuff. I don't think so. I don't know what that was, but there was this one girl back there that just kept making the funniest faces. She was, all kinds of stuff. You had to laugh. And she was very noticeable because she moved over like behind Stephanie. They moved a lot. So, if you, meanwhile, Rafe runs into Lee outside of the bistro. He's looking up, contemplating, "Oh yeah, Stefan will be dead in no time," and he's doing what everyone in Salem does, and that's walks around and talks to themselves loud enough and says things that can actually get themselves arrested or killed or anything. It's the stupidest writing ever, and it's not just every writer that's ever written for days has done this. I've never seen another show that does that so much. Here Lee is talking about, "Oh, Stefan's dead by then. Come home soon, Gabi." I'm sitting there thinking, and sure enough, of course, always somebody's gonna step up. So who steps up? Well, who steps up? I forgot. Oh crap! They're setting off fireworks in my driveway. Now I don't know who stepped up. Damn it. Okay, so anyway. Oh yeah, who steps up? Rafe. Rafe walks up behind Lee and he says, "Lee, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing." He said, you think you're going up to, he confronted him about going to Gabi and Stefan's engagement party. And he said, no, he was just passing through. But then he admitted, well, yeah, it just hurt me so bad, Rafe. This big dumb crap. Anyway, he told Rafe, they had a few words. And, Rafe just not doesn't like him much. So they went on, and Lee went home. Went back to the apartment where he where he starts like fantasizing about Gabi and Stefan being dead. He's like, why haven't I heard from Meagan? What's going on, Meagan? Is Stefan dead yet? Come home soon, Gabi. He's a psycho. He's just a psycho. And I hope this whole incident just takes him off the damn show. And since Gabi's already off the show, she's still just got some scenes left. I don't know when her last air date is. But I'm so distracted by these kids in the driveway. Anyway, he fantasizes that Gabi comes to the door and he opens it. And he's like, Gabi, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be at your engagement party? And she's like, yes, but Harris showed up and he shot Stefan. And he's like, oh my God, he didn't hurt you, did you? And she said, no. So he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Gabi. And she said, that he just did her a favor, that she really wanted to be with Lee. Of course, he's fantasizing all this in his head. And she's kissing him in this fantasy. And he's like, don't you need to mourn? And she's like, I can mourn tomorrow. Right now, I want you to ravish me. And she puts her arms around him. And she don't want him to ravish her, touch her, or even look at her. So, it's so funny. But that's what his little psycho mind is thinking. Okay, this isn't going to be very long. Nicole, she's worried about EJ, because they tell her that they're pretty sure Meagan gave them something to take their memory away. She's wanting him to go see a doctor and stuff. Well, they're lovey-dovey and, so glad to see each other. And, Eric's just standing over like a knot on a log, just looking, So. Poor Eric. Anyway, back at the ranch, back at the party, Harris is explaining, I'm just here for Stefan and nobody else, so nobody move. And, Meagan, you hear her talking in her head when Stefan says, I never did anything to you. And he said, well, there's somebody that wants you dead and I'm on a mission. And he's like, who was it? And at first Gabi says, it was EJ. He's always doing something to try to do stuff to us. And so Harris told him, he said it wasn't EJ. And Meagan is biting her tongue. And then he ended up saying, I'm here to complete a mission for a man who wants you dead. And Stefan's like, who? Who is it that wants me dead? And he said, Lee Shin. And everybody's like, and Wendy's having a fit. That's not, we're listening to a crazy man waving a gun? My brother's not a murderer. And Gabi's like, it makes sense. And then, Johnny was reminding Wendy, you remember earlier when we seen Lee in the square and he found out we were coming to the party, he told you not to come. And she's like, well, that was just out of loyalty for him or whatever. That wasn't what it was, man. I'm sorry, Mr. Ollie. But, you're sitting there, just wondering what's going on. And what's going on in Megan's head is she's like, good job, Rolf. He thinks that Lee did this to him. So she thinks she's home free no matter what goes down. Well, this is so funny because I rewatched Friday's episode today. And right at the end of it, before they're getting ready to go to the party, and Harris is already gone, Lee is talking to Rolf. And he said, I don't know how this is going to work for Meagan. I mean, won't they already just automatically think she did this? She refried, Harris and programmed him and all that. And Rolf said, no, I already took care of that. So Rolf, being the little sneaky boy that he is, and I love him, he purposely programmed Harris to think that Lee wanted him to kill Stefan so he could have Gabi, which he does, and he's the one behind the whole thing. Harris wasn't even programmed that Meagan had anything to do with it. So Megan's like, good job, Rolf. Now this is what you have to know about Rolf. First and number one, Rolf is indebted and committed to the DiMera family. Now some DiMeras more than others, but he is committed to helping them anytime they ask him. And he kind of looks out for them too, because they're partners in crime. I mean, he did it with Kristin. You know, Lee Shin, he ain't no DiMera. Come on, man. So I hope Lee's going off the show for good. Anyway, so you know, Harris, it says no, nothing personal, Stefan, but it's about that time, and he's putting the gun up to him. About that time, Rafe walks in and says, drop the gun, Harris. And he turns around to Rafe, and when he does, Gabi jumps on his back. And she's all wrestling him, you know, and he's wrestling with the gun, and he turns around and the gun goes off. Now, did it shoot anybody? Yes, it did. Who got shot? Meagan. Meagan got an old bullet right into Betty. Yes, she did. And everybody's looking around to see where the bullet went, because Harris didn't even purposely shoot Meagan. It's because Gabi was on his back. And I want to say, she had on the prettiest shoes I've ever seen. I'm not even a shoe gal. I don't even wear heels. I'm like 5'10", been taller than all the boys all my life. I am not a heels person. But this was a hot pink, and she had a hot pink purse to match. And all I seen was those shoes, and I thought, I love that color. She is always dressed to the nines. Whoever does her wardrobe there is on it. Let me tell you. You can't help but to notice, with all that going on, them pretty pink shoes flying through the air. She's going to town getting him. So, Rafe wrestles him, or is trying to wrestle him, I think. Gabi gets the gun, or does he still have the gun? Because Gabi ends up rolling around on him again. Okay, so everybody's looking around, and then she's like, he shot me, and you see the blood on her hands and on her stomach. And Dimitri comes running over, mother, you know, and he's over there grabbing his mother, and Gabi looks at her like that just even double pissed her off. And she goes over and, like, does she knee him in the crotch or kick him? She does something like that, and the gun flies out of his hand. She grabs the gun and gives it to Stefan, and Rafe ties him to the chair. So Chad and Stephanie are in charge of watching Harris. So until the police get there. So, oh my God, you know. Okay. Anyway, apparently I've got company. That is it. Oh, no, that's not it. The best part is for the last. Okay, so Lee is pacing back and forth in his apartment. Come on, Meagan, call me. And there's a knock at the door. He opens the door. There's Gabi, just like in his fantasy. She walks in. He's like, Gabi, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at your engagement party. And she said, I was, until Harris showed up with a gun. He's like, a gun? For what? And she said, to shoot Stefan. And he said, oh no, are you okay? And she said, yeah. And he said, oh, poor Stefan. And then, just right then, Stefan walked in and said, don't bury me yet, Lee. And he's like, oh, Stefan, thank God you're all right. And he said, drop the act. And then in the door comes old Rafester, and he's got the handcuffs. He's like, Li Shin, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of Stefan Demera. Yes, that's how it went off. Oh, it was so good. It was just so good. It was power-packed. And, you know, I love Rolf. I love Rolf. He was talking to Meagan earlier. It might have been on the Friday episode, where she said, you know, she wanted Stefan gone because, you know, she didn't want him to give Demera anything Demera to that little Gabi. She called her something. Maybe a hussy. I don't think that was it. But she called her something, and she's like, Demera should be mine. And Rolf said, it will be. Just love Rolf. Anyway, Monday, July the 3rd, and that's what's popping at Salem today. It was so good. Okay, you guys have a happy 4th. It's my son's birthday, so we already got people out here with fireworks. So I will see you all in Salem. And remember, just because tomorrow's a holiday, Days of Our Lives is still going to be on. That's it, peepsters. Subscribe if you haven't.